What's up airsofters, welcome back to the channel and to a video I promised a couple of weeks ago now, which will cover my first impressions of my first ever airsoft skirmish. Let's get into it. So although I was planning on taking out one of the airsoft rental packages, there were a few items I wanted to get beforehand, mainly around headgear. So I was torn between which sort of eye protection to go for, so I ended up getting two different types. I got these X800 style military goggles, as well as the Vulcan VTech Zulu goggles. I also did a first impressions video on both of these goggles, so I'll stick a little link up there so you can go and watch it. As well as the goggles, I bought this mesh face mask. I like this because it also has the mesh over the ears. As well as that, I bought a camo balaclava, a schmog, and some protective gloves. To round off my purchases, I got myself a decent pair of camo boots with really good ankle support. Bought this camo top. I got some camo trousers as well with knee pads for when I inevitably trip over my own feet. And I also bought these BBs just because I thought it'd be cheaper than buying them on the day. Now I could have quite easily gone mad and bought a load more gear, but I thought that's enough to get me started. Let's turn up, let's see what other people are using, and then make my decisions of what to get next. In addition to sort of my clothing, I also bought a run cam scope cam to go on the rental gun to capture those sweet kills I was planning on getting. However, if you've seen my videos from the day, you'll realise that wasn't the case. There was an issue with the run cam, must have been a faulty model, it just wouldn't record at all, so any footage taken with it was lost. So we booked to go at MPF Bassett's Pole, which is just outside Sutton Coldfield. They run regular events, and at the time of booking they were charging £45 for a rental package and £25 if you turned up with your own gear. So as part of the rental gear you'll get a gun, obviously. In this case it's a Vulcan battle machine. You'll get a plate carrier with a couple of spare magazines, 2,500 BBs, an all-in-one mask, goggle, face protection, and also a very lovely all-in-one camo coverall. So we planned to get there for about 8:30 in the morning. The itinerary allowed for about an hour and a half of arriving, getting registered, getting all your gear set up, with the first game due to kick off around 10:30. Before going to the site, we swung by the local McDonald's for a bit of breakfast, and when we got there we were greeted by about 40 people decked out in head-to-toe camo, so we were obviously in the right place. After grabbing some food, we jumped in the car and headed to the site. Because of COVID, we were told beforehand that parking, registering and getting all your gear set up would take place in a large field so everybody could socially distance. It was at this point when we parked up in the field I realised how out of our depth we really were. Looking around at some of the gear people were pulling out of their cars and the weapons they were wielding, I felt a bit silly really, turning up with my little bit of gear I bought off Amazon. Who am I to turn up and spoil these professionals' day? However, as more people started to turn up, I was relieved to see I wasn't the only rental player, and in fact some people had turned up with no gear at all. Another thing that caught my eye wasn't just the weapons and the gear people were pulling out, it was their general setup. People were pulling out picnic tables, chairs, gazebos out of their cars. The field was slowly turning into a military base, and all we had to sit on was my boot, so notes made for next time. It was around about this point I realised I made another rookie mistake. Looking around, everybody seemed to be in their full camo gear ready to go, apart from the few rental players. And I was still in my civvies, I hadn't got changed. And there was nowhere really to get changed either. I was essentially in the middle of a field surrounded by 100 people. Well, after wrestling around inside my car with my trousers on what turned out to be a rather hot morning, I managed to get my full camo gear without ruining too many people's breakfasts. I was gaming with a friend who'd already bought himself a gun, so as soon as we had all our gear on, we headed over to the chrono area to make sure his gun was firing at the legal limit for the site, which it was, so we were now ready to take on the world. So around 10 o'clock in the morning, we were formed into a very large, socially distant group in the middle of the field, and then a marshal stood on the stall shouting at us to tell us what the format of the day was and what sort of games we'd be playing. So we'll be having two 1-hour games back to back in the morning, about an hour break for lunch, and then two 1-hour games back to back again in the afternoon. Simples. We were told there was around 150 people there on the day, so they kind of did a rough split down the middle to sort out the two teams. They then came around with blue and yellow gaffer tape to wrap around our arms to designate the two teams. For the remainder of the day, I would be on the blue team. The site was excellent when it came to their approach with COVID. As mentioned earlier, we parked in a massive field. There was easily about 5 metres between every car, and even during the briefing in the morning, we stood at least 2 metres apart. There was hand sand everywhere, plastic shielding up at the shop, and during the briefing that we were told to have no more than 2 people behind any piece of barricade whilst we're out in the field. This is something everyone kept to during the day, and it was made a lot easier by the fact the map was massive, so there was plenty of room to spread out. Well, without going into my full day blow by blow, you could probably go and watch the videos I've done of the gameplay. Links will be around here somewhere. As we walked down to the first game, rental gun in hand, I was ready to charge into battle, bag my first kills, and bring home the victory for my blue team. Didn't quite work out like that though. Unfortunately, the reality of what happened is quite different. The game started, and then we sort of sauntered around the left a bit. Apprehension started to creep in. I found myself a big bit of cover and plonked my arse down behind it, which would later turn out to be right at the end of the map, far away from all the action. After about 10 minutes, when I realised I've not seen a single enemy yet, and even my own team has pushed on out of view, I got myself up and started to press on. However, this is where I started to run into another issue, this time with my goggles. For the first game, I decided to go with the X800 style goggles, and it was around this point where they decided they're going to fog up badly. So bad, in fact, my visibility was pretty much zero. Unfortunately, it was a consistent issue for the remainder of the first game. I could not get this fogging to clear. I could barely see my hand in front of my face, so for me the first game was a write-off. And it wasn't until the second game where I started moving around a lot more, where the fogging started to get a little bit better, but I'm afraid the damage had been done. At lunch I swapped to the SELFIECAM goggles, and for the remainder of the day actually, no fogging at all. I don't know if it was the goggles themselves or the different anti-fog spray I'd used, or if it was the fact I was moving around a lot more, which obviously helps with the airflow, but by the end of the day, fogging was a distant memory. Buying some boots with decent ankle support, without a shadow of a doubt, the best purchase I'd made. We were playing on woodland, so as you can imagine, the ground is littered with branches, uneven ground, and a couple of times I landed a little bit awkwardly and almost felt my ankle going. If it wasn't for the boots with good ankle support, I definitely would have sprained my ankle, and that'd be the end of the day for me. So get yourself some good boots with good ankle support. Other than that, seriously, you don't have to buy anything else. Turn up, use one of their rental packages. I can't speak for other sites, but the site we went to, the gear was decent. You won't feel like an idiot because you won't be the only person there with rental gear, trust me. And it would save you a lot of money because you might realise, well, I see that guy over there, he's got something which I never thought about buying. Other than the issues I had with my run cam not working throughout the day, the only thing I think I did wrong was being too conservative in those early games. I think if I just charged in from the get-go, the issues I had with fogging wouldn't have happened because moving around clears it. And the apprehension about, oh, am I going to get shot? Is it going to hurt? Would have gone, because trust me, it doesn't. As mentioned earlier, on top of the rental BBs you get, I bought these extra BBs. There's about 2,500 there. You get about 2,500 with my rental package, giving me a grand total of 5,000. I think I ended the day with about 4,500. Now I don't know if this is down to me being conservative, probably so, especially those morning games where I didn't really see anybody, but I didn't use anywhere near as many as I thought, so I think the next time I go, when I'm a bit more gun-ho, we'll see how many I get through then. Did it hurt? I mean, it's a difficult one because pain can be quite subjective. I got hit a lot, especially later on in the day. I can't remember any of them actually hurting. It was more surprise really that you'd just been hit by somebody you couldn't even see. However, in the week leading up to our first airsoft skirmish, my friend who'd bought his own gun came round and then shot me in the leg pretty much point blank through a pair of jeans. That hurt a lot. Maybe it was the distance I was being shot from. Maybe it was the adrenaline pumping, that's why I couldn't feel it as much on the day. But honestly guys, don't let it put you off. Even if you do get caught somewhere where it stings, it's no worse than like a slap by elastic band. It will last a minute or two and then you'll be charging headfirst in again. Although I managed to fix the fogging issue towards the end of the day, I was still getting quite a bit of head pain, mainly from all the different straps I had on, from my goggles, my mask, my cap. I mean, it felt like it was squishing my head. Before going again, I'd definitely like to address this, and I have come up with like an all-in-one system here, which I'm going to try out and see if that helps. I've also got a different hat, which hopefully isn't as tight. Other than that, I'm going to try and get a working scope cam. I'd heard before going to the airsoft that the airsoft community is really friendly, and I was actually pleased to find out that is true. Nobody makes you feel like you're a total noob and you shouldn't be there, even in your full rental gear. Everyone is super friendly, super chatty and super helpful. Unless of course you're on the other team during a game and you don't call your hits, then the air can turn quite blue. So call your hits guys, but by the end of the day, everyone was friends again. A great example of how helpful the community are is during a lunch break, and my friend who bought his own gun was having some issues with it. It wasn't firing properly. And then out of nowhere, another airsofter came jogging over from a nearby car. He said he knew what the issue was and then shouted out to another few nearby cars asking if anyone had a screwdriver, which they did. He then went about tightening up a few screws on it, and then a minute or two later, it was working perfectly fine again. Absolutely yes. In fact, I'm going again on the 11th of October and I've already started planning my third trip. I would recommend it to everyone. In fact, I have. Even if you turn up and just use the rental gear, you'll be in for an amazing day. The action is amazing, the people are super friendly, and it's relatively cheap to get into. Well, there we have it guys, my experiences as a newcomer to Airsoft and what my thoughts and findings were. I hope this video has proven useful to you. Please pop down your first Airsoft experiences in the comments below. If you're new around here, please consider subscribing, it really does help me out, and hit that little bell icon too so you get notified the next time I drop a video. I'll see you in the next one.